Welcome to Sliced Pizza Bar, where we're passionate about great pizza. All of our food is made fresh daily using only the finest ingredients and techniques. Our chefs put their heart and soul into each pie, and we're sure you'll taste the difference. Located on both Indian Rocks and Madeira beaches, chances are we're right around the corner for your next pizza night or dinner date. Come give us a try and experience the slice difference.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the number one choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
Hello everyone, welcome live to 3Y TV, tonight's broadcast of the American Sim Racing Series, Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series here from the beautiful Michigan International Speedway. This is the legacy version of this 2.0 mile D-shaped oval. Of course, it is a big racetrack, not only in size, but also for many of these manufacturers bringing out their 87 mobiles here tonight. We got the Chevy Monte Carlos and the Ford Thunderbirds in action, as you saw back in the day, and the drivers here in the American Sim Racing Series going to be racing them all the way around this racetrack. It will be a fun one here tonight. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth here tonight is Nicholas Rees. And Nicholas, hopefully you've made it to the racetrack here tonight, but I'll tell you what, it should be a blast to see these things blast their way around the racetrack.
Yeah, indeed, and you know what, Peter? Right as you said that, my iRacing actually decided to load, and I'm now here in the session. So I'm going to be able to commentate this race here. I'm really excited for this one. Michigan, and you know, the Legacy Michigan, I think is fun to run. I've drove these cars here at this track, and it's fun. I'm looking forward to some great racing, and hopefully that's what we're going to be seeing here in just a little bit.
Absolutely. Should be a lot of fun for these drivers slip sliding their way around this racetrack. I know one thing we'll be talking about many, many times here tonight is tire wear and managing your tires. Last week, Bristol Motor Speedway, we saw a couple of blown right fronts. Don't say that all too often in iRacing, but we saw it happen twice to some of the leaders. And it was definitely something a lot of the drivers had to manage throughout the race. Mitch Brown taking the win last week at Bristol Motor Speedway. A late race pass on the 202 machine of Stephen Hollingsworth. I'll tell you what, it was a fantastic run for Mitch last week. And so far, no Mitch Brown in the... Actually, no, excuse me. He's in the 101 machine. He's being scored currently in the 7th position. Sam Maxwell currently leading the way. There he is in the Hacksaw PC's number 98 machine. He's currently leading the practice session here with a 41.813. Just a couple of hundredths of a second faster than the number 11 machine of Tyler Seville. Stephen Hollingsworth, your points leader, sitting in the 3rd position in the 202 machine. Larry Orn and Corey Silva rounding out your top 5. Great to see Corey Silva here back in the series. And that number 191 machine, he's always fast there, Nicholas. But who are you kind of expecting to be quick out there tonight, Nick?
You know, it's been a while since I'm going to be honest here. It's been a while since I've actually seen these guys go around in these cars. And it's actually been a while just seeing this. I'd say maybe that's a tough one to call, at least for me.
I'll tell you what, it's great to see Corey Silva back in the group, and as well as Mitch Brown jumping back in the group. Of course, Mitch Brown was a series champion from last year, so I definitely expect that 101 machine. He's trying to go for 2 wins, and wins have been one of the things that we've talked about quite a bit this season, because in all of the races that we've had, we've only had one repeat winner in this series. That is the number 18 machine, who is not even here tonight, Doug Mullins. Mitch Brown taking the win. Ross Tatum, who was a newcomer to the series, was runner-up in his series debut. That was a very, very impressive run for the 242. Stephen Hollingsworth in the field here tonight. I expect him to be very, very quick. Your points leader. Will Worcester finished last week's race, in the 4th position. He's also up there in the point standings, trying to close in on Hollingsworth, but not making all too many inroads last week. Tim Knott rounded out your top 5. Lee Staples, a good run into the number 26 StepTire.com machine. Jason Stewart, Larry Warren, Daniel Gutierrez in his debut race, finishing in 9th, and Tyler Seville rounding out the top 10. Definitely wasn't the race Tyler Seville was hoping for. He was up there near the top of the points as well in the number 11 machine. We'll see him here tonight. I expect to see the Will Worcester Racing machines very, very quick, with Seville sitting 2nd in practice. Will Worcester back there around the 10th position. Will Worcester in the 29 machines actually in the outside retaining wall right now in turn number 3 and 4. He's going to take a tow back to pit road. Wisely so there, Nicholas, but he's going to probably lose one of his qualifying laps.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, Peter, I was actually thinking about just a little bit ago, as our first qualifying time goes on to the board by the number 119 of John Martin, and a couple others finishing, taking their first qualifying lap, actually. And, but I was thinking back to the question that you asked, like, who I was thinking that we may see fast up there. And from what I remember this season, Will Worcester and his team, Will Worcester Racing, definitely very fast, and finishing high up, of course, with Tyler Seville and others. I think that they're definitely going to be one of the faster teams.
Yeah, without a doubt. Larry Orrin fans making some noise in the chat, as always, here on the Thursday night Throwback Cup Series, brought to you by Boswell's Country Roads, Harley Davidson. Always giving them big shout-outs to Larry Orrin. We got Sam Ollis saying, give Larry the win, Steve. Seth Olson, of course, in the chat as well. Usually a fan of the number 44 machine, Michael Whiting. Whiting currently sitting 3rd position on the board here in qualifying. 7 minutes and 20 seconds left to go, so still quite a long way. Nicky Worcester, of course, rooting on Will Worcester Racing teammates. And remember, Tyler Seville has shown so far this year in the American Sim Racing Series that he knows how to get around this 2-mile track. Of course, that was the newer version that we ran over in the Premier Cup Series, brought to you by Hacksaw PCs. But definitely going to be fast here tonight, I'm sure, in that number 11 machine. When saving tires is the game, I expect Tyler Seville to work his way up to the front. There's the number 41 headed down pit road. A little bit of pit road practice. That's probably a good thing to do here around this racetrack, because, Nicholas, getting on pit road here at Michigan is pretty difficult. You have to get your car stopped in a hurry.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how you mentioned that, because just last week I was doing, funnily enough, I was doing the 87 Cup cars here at Legacy, Michigan, and yeah, getting into pit road, it's a little tricky, and that's definitely going to be something that we want to keep our eyes on when pit stops do come into play. We're going to see how that all goes.
Yeah, for sure. And now the qualifying session still got cars out there on the racetrack. Will Worcester put the number 29 machine up into 6th right now. Some of these drivers probably getting some extra practice time in, although Jason Stewart right here in the number 1 machine. Let's see if we can go on board with the 1 machine of Jason Stewart here as he works his way around this racetrack. Here he is on the front stretch, going to go right down there to the white line, try and shorten up the racetrack just a little bit. That's actually worth a couple hundredths of a second, folks, doing that. And then here he goes into turn number 1, gets a little bit loose. You can kind of see that back end yawed out. He goes all the way down there to the yellow line. We won't see that all too much here tonight. This old version of Michigan and iRacing tends to favor about 1 groove up. That low lane, yes, you can make it work for just a little while. Maybe that's what he's thinking here in qualifying. But typically you see cars running this groove. Jason Stewart running right now, just about 1 lane up from the white line. And I'm sure we'll see that plenty here tonight. Here he is coming out of turn number 4, going to drop down to the bottom of the racetrack once again, go across the start-finish line, and he's going to put that number 1 machine into the 7th position right now, right behind the number 29 machine of Will Worcester, and plopping himself right in front of the number 12 machine, of Steve Buhala. Great to see Steve back in the show here tonight. Haven't seen much of Steve Buhala this year. Of course, he's not in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series this year. He was in the Premier Cup Series last year. But that number 12 machine, great to see him back out there on the racetrack and inside the top 10 here in this qualifying session. Drivers yet to take time. James Matherly in the number 13 machine and Mitch Brown, both of those cars still sitting on pit road, yet to take time here. And Nicholas, there is a rule in this series in the league that you have to make your qualifying time in the first 5 minutes. So I don't expect to see Matherly or Mitch Brown out there on the racetrack. And that's pretty big because Brown won last week.
Yeah, and yeah, that's very interesting to see. And yeah, I'm starting to remember that rule. You got to do your qualifying in the first 5 minutes. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect to see those two up on the board. So yeah,
definitely going to be interesting to see here what's going on as the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart here just showing some drifting skills in turn number 3 right there. But one thing we do want to highlight, folks, it is the month of October, and that's why you will see pink accents. I guess I'm colorblind here tonight. Pink accents over there on the left-hand side of the screen, of course, for breast cancer awareness, is the one of Jason Stewart. Once again, shows us how to drift around Michigan and how to rallycross around Michigan Raceway there, Nick.
Yeah, I'm just keeping my eye on the number 1 of Jason Stewart as he's having some fun going around, and he's going to be rolling off 7th, it looks like, but and there he goes, still showing us drifting here at the legacy version of Michigan International Speedway.
Yeah, putting on a show for all of those fans around this racetrack. Of course, this was back in the day when they had grandstands out the wazoos at this track. Now they've kind of toned it down a little bit with the amount of seats that they have here as Stewart once again gets sideways. Remember in the old Gran Turismo games, you used to get points for sliding through corners using the drift feature, and you can also do that in Assetto Corsa. They also have a drift feature, and I think that's what Jason Stewart's trying to do here, trying to get that 5-star drift through the corner. He's hasn't quite nailed it. He can keep it about, I don't know, about a...
Oh, no. Hey, that was a great show while it lasted, though, Peter.
F in the
I was
chat
enjoying that.
for the 1 machine. If I don't see F's in the chat for Jason
There's
Stewart...
mine.
There we go. We got one.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, definitely putting on a show here as the session is rounding out. But we're going to be set for a fantastic race here. Stephen Hollingsworth, your points leader in the 202 machine, will be your pole sitter here tonight. Definitely a great run once again for Stephen Hollingsworth, and he has shown week after week, doesn't matter what the racetrack is, big track or small track, he just excels with these 87 machines. And Nicholas, I know you've driven them, and we talk about this each and every week, how different they drive in comparison to the modern day cup cars. But they're definitely pretty fun to drive.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, they also get a little tricky. I mean, me being used to driving the modern cup cars that you don't really need to put pretty much literally any wheel input into, but these are like a whole nother animal. Like, you have to put a bunch of wheel input into these at certain tracks, but these definitely do get a little tough. But yeah, like you've said, Peter, they are very fun, though, to drive.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I'll tell you one person who is very, very happy about last night in the American Sim Racing Series. We don't broadcast the Wednesday night series, but there was a truck race last night, and Mr. Jim Foose took home the checkered flag at Talladega. Huge run right there at the end, a little bit of help from the 72 of Michael Krobach. And Jim Foose got the job done, got that bright yellow Menards Ford to victory lane. Congratulations on that win, Jim. Shame you're not in the show here tonight. Would love to see you out there in that number 42 machine, but definitely doing a little bit of the admin duties here tonight at Michigan. Hopefully the admin doesn't have to get called on all too much. I'm sure that's what Jim Foose wants to see. Not only makes his life a little bit easier, but makes the racing product better most of the time. So, Jim, enjoy the race from wherever you're watching, and congratulations on the win last night. But Nicholas, you've already seen a couple of the cars line up down there here right at the start-finish line. You see that 3M emblazoned flag stand right there. Flagman going to get the green flag ready for one lap from now. But Nicholas, why don't you take us through tonight's starting lineup?
All right, sounds good to me, Peter. Starting in row one, in first on the inside, the number 202 of Stephen A. Hollingsworth, and on his outside will be the number 231 of Larry Orn. In row two, on the inside, the number 11 of Tyler Seville, who we have seen very fast in the series, along with his other teammates of Will Warser Racing. On his outside, the number 98 of Sam Maxwell. And in row three, starting fifth on the inside, the number 44 of Michael Whiting. And on his outside, the number 29 of Will Worsler. Starting in seventh, the number 1 of Jason Stewart, who was giving us quite the dirt rallycross in the grass while drifting show. That was interesting. And to his outside will be the number 12 of Steve Buhala. Starting in ninth, on the inside, 191 of Corey Silva. And to his outside, rounding out your top 10 will be the number 26 of Lee Staples. And I'll just go through the last 5. On the inside, number 66 of Edward Bray, and to his outside, the number 119 of John Martin. Starting in 13th will be the number 41 of Tim Knott, and to his outside in 14th will be the number 101 of Mitch Brown. And of course, rounding out your 15-car field, the number 13 of James Motherly. And of course, Mitch Brown and James Motherly did not take any qualifying laps, so this is going to be really interesting to see what they can do back here at the back of the field.
And one driver will be taking an end of the longest line at the start. That is Steve Buhala in the number 12 machine. So he will drop to the tail end of the field. That will bump the inside groove up just one position, I do believe. So we'll see how Buhala can do from the back. Got to give a big shout out to John Martin in the 119 Federal Express machine. He is making his series debut here tonight from Michigan International Speedway, but the pace truck due to head down pit road here in about probably about 15 seconds from now, and the race will be in the hands of Stephen Hollingsworth, your points leader. 21-point margin over Will Worsler coming into tonight. Jason Stewart, second place in points. Look at the 231 of Larry Orn. He was just waiting for the green flag to come out. Field's still coming out nice and slowly. There's the green flag, and we're underway here at Michigan. Larry Orn initially got a good jump, but look at the stack up. He got a little bit of wheel spin in that 231 machine. Stack up the outside line. Sam Maxwell going to drop to the inside. And that number 98 machine of Maxwell going to try and go for that position. And it looked like there, Nicholas, there was a little bit of a stack up on the outside line. I couldn't tell if maybe the 202 maybe had problems getting up into gear, so the 231 didn't want to jump, or whether there was wheel spin or what. But glad to see that no accidents out of that big stack up.
Yeah, I was watching that all right when it was happening. From what I saw, Larry Orn in the 231, he got a little bit of too much of a jump before the stripe. So I'm guessing he checked up a little bit, so the leader, of course, in first place, Hollingsworth, could, of course, pass the start-finish line before he could. So yeah, I just think he checked up a little bit, and that's what caused that. But like you said, Peter, no accidents out of that, and we're having some side-by-side here, Larry Orn and the number 98 of Sam Maxwell, as it looks like Maxwell not going to clear Orn, so they're still side-by-side, and it's just a little bit of side-by-side in the back, but we're having some good racing here.
James Matherly in the number 13 machine has dropped off the back of the pack, so he'll be scored in 15th. Steve Buhala up to 14th from his last place start. Tim Knott running in 13th. Big gap developing between Ed Bray in the 12th spot back to T.N.T in 13th. But there you see your current race leader and points leader, the 202 of Hollingsworth, continuing to lead. Meanwhile, good battles. John Martin in the 119 machine battling it out with Michael Whiting in the number 44 machine. They were side by side going through turn number 1 and 2. And now looks like John Martin trying to go to the high side of the 44 machine through 3 and 4. Couldn't get it done down on the bottom, tried to get to the outside, unable to do so. And they're just going to get back in line here on the front stretch. There you see the 11, Tyler Seville, trying to track down your race leader. That gap up at the front just getting a little bit larger as that 202 machine starts to scoot away. And you can see, folks, how they're running that middle groove. Nicholas?
Yeah, and going back to John Martin, he almost made a good move on the inside, but now Corey Silva now going to clear him, and now he's going to go for the number 44 of Michael Whiting. But yeah, as I mentioned, Peter, John Martin almost made the move on Whiting, and it looks like he's still trying. He might get him in this next corner, but we'll see. Very good battle.
Yeah, definitely a good battle back there around the 7th position. Corey Silva going to hold on to that 7th position for now. Martin back to 8th. Mitch Brown now in the 51 machine. He's got a little bit of front end damage, perhaps from the very start of the race when there was that stack up. That could come to affect this 51 machine. But look at this gaggle of cars down the backstretch. There you see Corey Silva in the 191. Back behind them, Lee Staples is trying to go to the inside of the 51 machine of Mitch Brown. They're going to be side by side. There you see them. And look at the 119 of John Martin all the way down there to the bottom side of the racetrack. Martin was 8th position last time he crossed the start-finish line. This time by, he's going to fall back to 10th. And now he comes under fire from the 1 of Jason Stewart. Stewart comes into tonight 3rd position in points. What a season it has been for the number 1 machine. Got that win a couple of weeks ago back when we went to Darlington. And Stewart here again trying to work his way up through the field, possibly pacing himself at this point of the race. It is a 75-lap race here tonight, guys, so 150 miles around this racetrack. We'll have to wait and see just how many cautions we get. We were so close to a caution-free race on Tuesday night in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series, and it all went downhill right at the end of the race. The number 29 machine of Will Worsler's a lot of right side damage, and getting word that that number 29 machine has caught the outside retaining wall coming out of turn number 4 this last time by. Not quite sure if you folks saw that on the stream, but he did. And now Will Worsler going to have to suffer with that right side damage. And Nicholas, here at iRacing, on a track like this, these cars can be very aero sensitive.
Yeah, they really can, and I mean, it's quite funny. I keep relating back to when I was driving these cars at this legacy version of the track, and I was having the same issue. And remembering what I saw in practice, I mean, same thing happened to Will Worsler. He got into the outside wall, so seems like it's happened to him twice, once in practice and once in the race. Hopefully he'll stay off that wall now, because like you said, Peter, these cars can be very aero sensitive, and a lot of cars for that matter are on iRacing.
Absolutely. Worsler currently running back in the 9th position. Last time by, fastest car out on the racetrack was the number 98 machine of Sam Maxwell. In fact, Maxwell's been just a little bit faster than both Seville and Hollingsworth over the last 5 laps. So Maxwell here, we're closing in on lap number 10. Maxwell showing a little bit of mid-run pace here. It is going to be quite a long run when you consider how much fuel these things have on board. I expect to see 1 pit stop here tonight if we were to go caution-free. They can't go the whole way, but I can definitely fathom them making it just past the halfway mark. Of course, that would be around lap number 37, lap number 38 here tonight for all these drivers. But definitely that 202 machine of Hollingsworth has the field covered, at least for now. Tyler Seville sitting in 2nd. He needs a good points night after having a little bit of tough luck at the Bristol race last week, finishing down in the 10th position. I know that doesn't sound like all too much, but when, the person you're battling in points, the 202 machine of Hollingsworth, rolls up another podium finish, you're gonna struggle to keep up with them if you're finishing 7 spots behind him. So Hollingsworth here been so consistent in this series, and here again showing his muscle in the early going, Nicholas.
Yeah, for sure. And most of this settled out now, single file. Some too wide back here between Will Worsler and Edward Bray, but that's settling down as well. And I would like to mention here and apologize for the ticker going back. And of course, as you notice, the vertical ticker back to blue just had some technical difficulties, had to revert to in a different version of this software. And please ignore the names in blue. It's not for this series, that is for the Premier Series, I do believe. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, that is correct. We'll see if perhaps we can get that all sorted out as well. But, kind of highlighting the fact that we do have a playoff action happening over in the Tuesday night Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Those names that you saw in blue, well, that's just a quick sneak peek of the race that we have lined up for you on Tuesday night right here on 3Y TV. As we'll see, a little bit of technical difficulties there, but we do have that race on Tuesday night here. Talladega is going to separate which one of these American Sim Racing Series drivers makes it on to the final round of the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series playoffs. Definitely going to be interesting to see how that all sorts out right here on 3Y TV on Tuesday night. Gonna be a fun one. Love going to Talladega Super Speedway. It should be awesome. I got folks in the chat asking, how is Larry doing performance-wise so far, Mr. 3Y TV? Well, good news is he's running in the 4th position. Now, looking at his average lap times over the last 5 laps, he is running about a 10.5 slower on average than Stephen Hollingsworth. But he's on pace with the cars behind him. Michael Whiting only 1/1000th of a second faster than Larry Orn over the last 5 laps or so. Corey Silva closing in on Larry just a little bit, and then we have a gaggle of cars behind him that are also just barely closing in on Larry, so not a big time delta though between the 231 machine and a couple of the other cars around him, so we'll keep an eye on him as the race goes on. I did see the 51 machine of Mitch Brown, last week's race winner, as we ride on board here with Corey Silva in 191. I did see that the 151 of Mitch Brown did have some issues. He pulled down to the bottom side of the racetrack, I think due to some connection issues. So he's dropped to the 15th position right now in that race machine. Still working his way around the racetrack, however. He is still in the lead lap, but he's 23 seconds behind your current race leader. James Matherly currently running in 14th. Steve Puhala, 13th, and Tim Knott in 12th. And in front of them, it's a good group of cars. Will Worcester running down in 11th with all that right side damage. Definitely that right side damage is affecting that high-flow industrial and environmental services machine. Ed Bray, sponsored by Boswell's Country Roads. Of course, Boswell's Country Roads, the sponsor for the Boswell Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Series. He's running inside the top 10. There you see him right there. Love that paint scheme. That silver just pops on that machine, Nicholas.
Yeah, and yeah, it really does. And going back to what you were saying, relating to connection issues, someone else who has been blinking a little bit, having a little bit of connection issues, not too bad, but that has been the number 11 of Tyler Seville. I've been watching him for a little bit, and he's been blinking in and out, and it's always a scary position to be in when you're in second and you're having connection issues. That's always a little nerve-wracking knowing that you're in second and that's happening, but it looks like it's settled down for the most part, but just something that I noticed and wanted to point out there. So some drivers having a little bit of connection issues, but that's all good now. But yeah, like you said, that paint scheme really stands out, but looks like the top 3 are have a huge lead over the number 231 of Larry Orn in 4th. they're social distancing with each other. Well, not with each other, but from the other drivers.
Yeah, and I'm keeping an eye. I bring this up quite a bit here on 3-Wide TV, especially in these races where we've got a good number of green flag laps on. I mean, we're now closing in on halfway through the first run, and I expect to see these drivers on pit road, assuming this race goes caution-free for the first half of the race. And Sam Maxwell, Tyler Seville, Jason Stewart are the 3 fastest cars out there on the racetrack right now. Stephen Hollingsworth, he's the 5th fastest car. I mean, he's still holding a pretty decent advantage, but Seville and Maxwell are closing in just a little bit for the race lead. Corey Silva there closing in a little bit on Michael Whiting, but not much separating Whiting and Corey Silva on the time charts over the last few laps. Good job by the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart, because the 1 machine of Jason Stewart, I just highlighted his name a second ago. He's getting that checkered flag PC's Ford Thunderbird up there. He's closing in on these cars in front of him. And look at the number 26 machine right there. That's Lee Staples trying to go for the 8th position around the outside of the 119 of John Martin. He's going to take that position. Good job by Lee Staples in that SepTire.com Chevy Modern Car.
Yeah, for sure. And now at least looking to try to make a move on the number 1 of Jason Stewart is the number 26 of Lee Staples. Will he be able to get him? He's gaining on him. We're going to see what he can do if he's going to try to make a move here. But now he's going to back out a little too much there, so not enough to make the move. But I just like to point out in the chat that not having an Ethernet cable is like not having an engine in real NASCAR. I got to say that is pretty accurate, yeah, that's pretty accurate. I mean, when you don't have an Ethernet cable and you're running off of just straight Wi-Fi, and that's what I did for my first couple months of iRacing, and I'm far from the wireless router, as the number 26 of Lee Staples is going to make a move here on the number 1 of Jason Stewart. Not quite. We're going to see what he can do here, but like I was saying, I was using Wi-Fi for a while with iRacing, and Ethernet's the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I have my racing rig all wired up by Ethernet. Wi-Fi, it's great, except when it isn't. So,
it's one of a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's a lot of the time, especially when you need low latency and a strong, solid connection. That's what these drivers right here need. Lee Staples right there, still trying to get past the number 1 of Stewart. He's been hounding him here for the last few laps. This little trio of cars still holding right with one another, but back up at the front, the 11 of Seville. I said he was closing in on Hollingsworth. He's got to his back bumper, not able to do anything just yet. You can see that Folgers 202 machine right out the front bumper of the number 11 machine. I call this the days of Thunder Cam, folks. I absolutely love this camera, especially when you're darting and weaving through accidents and smoke is everywhere. Well, it takes you back to the Days of Thunder movie, and right behind them is Sam Maxwell. Sam's not letting these front 2 get away from him at all. However, there's some of that connection issues that we have seen on the number 11 machine, kind of plaguing the 3-Wide TV camera there just a little bit. Larry Orn in the 231 machine, he's dropped about 3.5 seconds back behind Sam Maxwell. Michael Whiting is closing in on the 231 of Larry Orn, as we're now probably about 15 laps away or so from coming down pit road for the one and only pit stop I expect to see here tonight. Corey Silva also closing in on the 231 of Larry Orn, so that will be a 3-car battle for the 5th position. In fact, here comes Corey Silva down the back stretch in the 191 machine. He's going to duck to the inside of Michael Whiting. He's going to try and take that position. Remember, I did say that I expected to see Corey Silva be pretty quick here tonight. Very, very fast last season in the American Sim Racing Series Premier Series. And here again, he's got himself now back up into the 5th position, trying to close in on Larry Orn for 4th. And with the pace he's got in that 191 machine, it won't be all too long before he's closed in on Larry for that position. But let's see if we can go on board with the 191 of Corey Silva. See if we can go maybe an in-car camera look with that 191 machine. Just kind of show what the hand movements are like with this car, because this car kind of drives differently. Nicholas, we've highlighted it before. You have to put a lot more steering wheel input into this car typically than you do the modern Cup cars. And you see him kind of drift out there, get close to that outside wall. Good job there, not hitting it. That's what you want to do for all 75 laps. Get close, but don't hit it. And now watch this line into turn number 1 and 2. Watch what Corey Silva's doing. He's getting right down there to the first seam, but he's not going below that first seam. Maybe just a fraction of an inch below that first seam. That's the line, especially at this legacy version of Michigan, that carries the most speed in iRacing. The top groove is decent in turn number 3 and 4. It isn't always there in turn number 1 and 2. But this inside groove is kind of the groove to be in, Nicholas. I've raced here many, many times. I've thoroughly enjoyed racing this racetrack, but it is sometimes very single grooved.
Yeah, you know, it can, yeah, it does seem like it gets single grooved, and that's the one thing about this track. And you know, it would be nice if, like, it was easier to go have multiple racing grooves, to do more racing and passing, more stuff like that. And I just like to point out, like we were seeing on the in-car camera of Silva, what I really like what iRacing did is the amount of detail that they put into these cars. And this is completely off topic to the race, of course, but you could actually see, if you saw the fan pointing down at the driver's feet. And I really like that detail because it's trying to make it feel like this is from 1987. So that's a really nice detail that iRacing decided to add, try to make it look like the real thing. And as you can see on your screen right now, in-car camera with Stephen A. Hollingsworth, there you can see the fan near his feet. And once he comes into the turn, you're going to see what I mean about the wheel input as well, as he dives down low, trying to get near the white line, but not too close. There, you can see that wheel input, like I was saying, Peter.
Yeah, definitely Hollingsworth wheeling it around this racetrack. Still your race leader, the 98 machine, Sam Maxwell, just dropped out off the back of the front two just a little bit. He's now just over a half second behind the 202 of Hollingsworth here, as we're now down to 49 laps to go. The first 25 laps here ticking off very, very quickly. We're over 1/3 distance here tonight. Let's see how the chat is doing as Seville continues to hound that 202 machine. Do want to update, Corey Silva in the 191 machine has gotten past Larry Orn, so much to the dismay of the Orn clan over there in the chat. Definitely that 231 machine now falling into the clutches of Michael Whiting in the 44. There you see the MW machine. That will make Seth Olson happy. He's always rooting on the number 44 machine in the chat. Sam Ollis says, did they have really hot shoes on? I'll tell you what, I got some pretty hot shoes on. They're my dancing shoes. They're Sparco race shoes. And yeah, they back in the day, the firewall, to be more honest, the firewall on these things was not super thick, so the engine compartment would get pretty hot, and that firewall just didn't have enough insulation on it, so it would get pretty darn toasty down by the driver's feet, especially on a hot day. And that was one of the reasons for that fan, so they could cool them off if they wanted to. And now, of course, modern day, they all have the cool suits in NASCAR, you know, so they can run cold water through the race suits and cold air up into the helmet and all that. So they didn't used to have that back in the day. In fact, you know, I think it was the anniversary of Ricky Rudd's win at Martinsville this past week. And I don't know if you guys have heard about Ricky Rudd back in, I believe it was 1998, back when he was in the Tide Ride. His cooling, went off, completely failed around lap 50 in a 500 lap race at Martinsville in a 100-degree day. And he stayed in the car. He got burns. He was physically burned, as you see. Will Warser looks like he's had enough of that number 29 machine. He's come down pit road to get some 4 fresh tires on it. Could open up the pit window for these cars. So I think they can go all the way to the end from here. But going back to Ricky Rudd, he was completely exhausted. Got out of the race car, had to have an IV pumped in him in victory lane, and he did the post-race interview while he had an IV in his arm. and was laying on the ground with fans on him, because it was really very impressive what he could do that day at Martinsville. So Doug Mullins in the chat saying Bears eat beets. Yes, we know. Can we call you start to call you Dwight Mullins? Does that work? Are you? Do you own a beet farm? I don't know. But Doug Mullins in the chat. We have a good battle going on for the 4th position. Larry Orton and Corey Silva, they actually swapped positions. Corey Silva had gotten back up to 4th, but Larry Orton just took that position right back. Now, they are quite a ways behind your front 3. Sam Maxwell still trying to hold on to the front group, but as you can see, that 231 machine just got in front of the 191, and Michael Whiting now in the 44 kind of falling off the back of that train. Jason Stewart trying to do all he can to catch up to the 44 of Michael Whiting here before they come down pit road, which expect your leaders to do here pretty shortly, because we are now closing in on the halfway mark. It'll be just about 6 laps away from now, Nicholas.
Yeah, as you mentioned, and then of course these guys going to come down pit road soon. I mean, and then like you said, like once they come down pit road, they should be able to make it the rest of the way, because as you mentioned, we're coming up on the halfway mark soon. Seth Olson rooting on the number 44 of Michael Whiting, who is currently in the 6th position, I believe. Yep. As he is not super far from the number 191 of Corey Silva. But of course, a bunch of these positions may or may not change after pit stops.
Here comes John Martin in the 119 Mobile. He's pitting here on lap number 32. So that 119 machine, not quite sure if there was any troubles, whether or not he had a flat or something, but he put his hands out the window and he made it down pit road. Will Warsler in the number 29 machine continues to sit on pit road in that race mobile. So not quite sure if he's getting damage repaired or whether or not he's calling the night early in that Will Warsler Racing Chevy Monte Carlo. And that's a big hit, because he came in 2nd place in points, 6 markers ahead of Jason Stewart, 21 markers behind Stephen Hollingsworth, who continues to lead this race. In fact, by my math, Stephen Hollingsworth has led every single lap so far, but Tyler Seville says, you know what, not so fast. As I say that number 11 machine going to dive to the inside, and we're going to have a new race leader here at Michigan.
Yep, new race leader, and another pass being made is the number 191 passing the number 231, and we got someone coming down pit road. That is the number 98 of Sam Maxwell. Had enough of his number 98 machine. He will be coming down pit road. But like I said, as other pit stops are going on now, the number 191 of Corey Silva did make a move on the number 231 of Larry Orton, as we're seeing more pit stops. And we're going to see what the leaders decide to do when they decide to pit. Currently, Tyler Seville, like you said, made the move on the number 202 of Stephen A. Hollingsworth. Doesn't look like they're coming down this time by, but we're going to see if anyone behind them decides to come down this time by. I'm seeing the number 13. No, looked like he was going to, but did not. So, but who is coming down this lap is the number 1 of Jason Stewart and the number 26 of Lee Staples, and it looks like the number 66 of Edward Bray.
The thing that interests me most here about this, Nicholas, is we're not quite to the halfway mark. I mean, presumably these drivers are calculating, hey, I'm inside my window here. But personally, if it's me, of course, these drivers have just, I believe, 1 set of tires here tonight. And we'll see if I can confirm that here in just a moment. But I'd probably be one of those drivers who wants to stay out there for as long as possible, especially if I'm one of the drivers a little bit further back in the pack, just in case a caution comes out. You want slightly fresher tires to try and make moves on cars if the caution flag comes out, because you only have that 1 set, presumably. So could be some interesting calls here, and it'd be interesting to see exactly how this race does play out here tonight. And I'm not on the pit box. I'm not one of these drivers. I'm not in their head. But at least for the number 11 of Tyler Seville, he's out front here as we close in on the halfway mark. It will be halfway here this time by, I do believe.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. And of course, we got more people down pit road. I don't believe Tyler Seville has come down yet. I could be wrong. No, he has not. So he has stayed out so far. I'm guessing he's waiting for it to be an actual full halfway mark to be safe.
Yeah, well, we just eclipsed the halfway mark with him halfway down the back stretch. So that number 11 machine, I expect to see him on pit road here very, very shortly because Hollingsworth came down.
Yep,
Is
he's
this
coming
one the
down.
11? Yep. He is on the brakes. He is coming down to that pit road line. You have to be down to pit road speed right there at that yellow cone, 55 miles an hour here tonight. He was able to hit that pit road speed absolutely perfectly. Now the big question is, can he get into his pit box nice and neatly? We saw a couple of drivers struggle with that on Tuesday night in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series at Las Vegas, but it looks like Seville does a fantastic job to get into his pit box nice and neatly. Crew will go to work on the right-hand side of that number 11 Slice Porcupines machine. Just where will he fall out? That will be the question. There is the number 12 machine, Steve Buhala, currently running there right behind the 101 machine. That's Mitch Brown. Mitch trying to work his way up through the field, currently being scored in the 5th position. Remember, I had mentioned at one point that he dropped well back, possibly with some connection issues, so he's trying to make up for that one. But as of right now, Nick, we only have 9 cars out there on the lead lap right now, and John Martin in the 119 machine making his series debut here tonight. He's taken the 119 to the garage.
Yeah, he has retired from this race, so he won't be making another appearance at this track tonight. He is packing it up and will be heading home. So, anyways, currently leading here is the number 191, I believe, according to this, of Corey Silva.
And he's yet to come down to make a pit stop, so he's been out there for 40 laps.
Yeah, and who is coming down now is the number 231 of Larry Orn, who was being scored second as he makes his way down pit road. Tim Knott now coming out of his pit stall, now making his way out of pit road.
I'll tell you what, this is, and like I mentioned a couple laps ago here, Nicholas, I don't think this is a bad move because Corey Silva has pace, but he's a long way behind the race leaders. At least he was a little bit ago, as we have a side-by-side battle between the 98 and the 11. Sam Maxwell's Tyler Seville. Seville's going to take that position in the number 11 machine. He's on fresher tires than the number 98. But going back to Corey Silva, if Corey Silva waits a couple laps before coming down pit road, he's going to have fresher tires. And because he has those fresher tires, if a caution flag was to come out, that would strongly benefit him because this set of tires that these drivers are putting on pit road, that they're going to have to go to the end of the race on that set of tires. There's going to be no other changes. Can confirm that the set of tires that they had waiting for them on pit road was the only set of tires on pit road. So that's it. They're done for tire changes here in this race, except for a couple of drivers like the 191 machine of Corey Silva, who's yet to come down pit road. Mitch Brown in the 101 machine also yet to come down pit road. So those drivers will probably both be hoping for a caution flag once they finally elect to come down to their pit crew. James Matherly in the number 13 machine, he's making it back out there on the circuit. He's a little bit off the pace right now, not 100% sure why. He's kind of slowed down there on the apron. But we'll stay green flag for right now. Corey Silva continuing to lead the way, yet to come down pit road. He's only our third different leader here tonight, I believe. Oh, something happened?
Yeah, he smacked the outside wall coming out of turn 4. That was the number 191 of Silva. Maybe a little bit of right side damage, but still. And he did smack it pretty hard. You can see right here as he goes by, but yeah, he smacked it a little hard. So, but he is still, of course, leading the race, and we're gonna have a replay here if we can see this coming out of turn 4. Drifts up a little too much and just hits the wall. But he is now coming down pit road. The number 191 of Corey Silva now finally coming down pit road.
Yeah, he will relinquish the lead. Mitch Brown now the only car still out there on the racetrack from the start of the race. He has about 44 laps on his tires, so he will assume the race lead. Now, he's really hoping for a caution here, Nicholas, before he has to come down pit road. I mean, even if he doesn't come down pit road now, and even when he does, he will still have the freshest tires compared to everyone else. We got some people in the chat asking about tires. Well, currently Stephen Hollingsworth in the 202 machine, who will be the race leader once Mitch Brown comes down pit road. He has 7 laps on his tires currently. He is running a 42.9, 43.0 second lap. That's about 0.7 of a second slower than his fastest lap of the race. Now, Hollingsworth is kind of all by himself right now. He does have a pretty decent advantage over the number 11 machine of Jason Stewart. It's about, the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart is currently being scored in 3rd. Great pit stop for him in that number 1 machine. He did do the undercut. The big question here, as it looks like Mitch Brown is finally headed down pit road in the 101 machine, so that will give the race lead back to Hollingsworth. Nope, I take that back. Mitch Brown's still up there on the racetrack. I thought I saw him coming down pit road, but I take that back. My live timing is scoring there. I mean, maybe he had some connection issues or something, but anyway, back to what I was talking about. Hollingsworth has lost about 0.8 of a second, 0.9 of a second here in about 9 laps. So that's probably about 1/10 of a second per lap. When Mitch Brown comes down pit road, he's going to have the freshest tires in the field, 9 to 10 laps fresher than Hollingsworth, if not more. So if he gets a caution, he could potentially work his way up through the field, assuming he stays on the lead lap. Definitely going off strategy and not a bad idea here. Tyler Seville, he has 1 lap fresher tires than Hollingsworth. However, Seville is currently about 3 seconds behind Hollingsworth. That is a pretty decent gap between the 202 and the 11. Larry Orn, who has 2 lap fresher tires than Tyler Seville, he's actually right on Seville's back bumper. Fantastic job by the 231 machine getting on pit road and getting off pit lane, because he, remember, had quite a few seconds between himself and Tyler Seville. And now not only does he have fresher tires, he's also right up on his back bumper. So all of you Larry Orn fans in the chat will be very, very happy to hear that Orn is in a pretty good position here right now to potentially walk away with a top 3 finish if things continue as they are. But Nicholas, we still have 28 laps to go.
Oh yeah, still a lot of racing left. 28 laps to go, as you mentioned, Peter. Anything can happen in those 28 laps, and something probably will happen. We'll see what's happening soon. But it looks like finally the number 101 of Mitch Brown coming down pit road into his stall, and his crew gonna work on those right side tires as it goes up. That side goes up, and as you see, number 202 of Stephen A. Hollingsworth still leading this race. A pretty big lead, honestly, over Jason Stewart, and an even bigger lead over the number 11 of Tyler Seville. Now coming up on lap traffic here, the number 13 of James Matherly and the number 12 of Steve Buhala.
Yeah, remember Steve Buhala started shotgun here tonight in that number 12 machine after taking end of longest line penalty at the start of the race. Currently running in the 12th position in the number 12 Mobile. Stephen Hollingsworth just passed James Matherly to put him 6 laps down in that number 13 machine. He hasn't quite been up to pace here tonight. Not 100% sure. Has a lot of right side damage. That might be the culprit on that number 13 machine, but he's doing a good job of staying out of the way for a lot of these other cars. Meanwhile, Jason Stewart currently pacing in the second position in front of Tyler Seville. Larry Orn in fourth. It's going to be a good battle here brewing for that second position here shortly, because both Tyler Seville and Larry Orn have fresher tires than that number 1 machine of Stewart. He was one of the early adopters down pit road. In fact, that number 1 machine of Stewart pitted 15 laps ago, 3 laps before Tyler Seville, and 5 laps before Larry Orn. Compare that to Hollingsworth. Hollingsworth pitted just 2 laps after Stewart here tonight. So Hollingsworth is pulling away from Stewart. Seville and Orn are both catching Stewart. And then you have Sam Maxwell in the number 98 machine. Probably the biggest loser on pit road was the number 98 machine of Sam Maxwell. Looking at his pit stop time, 21.8 second stop. But what I'm seeing here, Nicholas, is something that we actually didn't see. We were focusing on the cars on track, but I'm getting word that Jason Stewart and Larry Orn both took 2 tires. Stewart took 2 right sides. Larry Orn took 2 right sides. That is how these 2 cars kind of pole vaulted their way up towards the front. So going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. Hollingsworth took 4 tires. Sam Maxwell took 4 tires. Tyler Seville also taking 4 tires on his pit stops. But a couple of gamblers there with both Stewart and the 231 of Larry Orn.
Yeah, I was actually wondering that because I actually saw that Larry Orn. I noticed that he came in and then came out a bit faster than I remember seeing with the other guys. So that explains it. He took only 2 tires along with the number 1 of Jason Stewart, and we're going to see how that plays out. And I mean, it's not looking too bad for some of these guys because, of course, the number 1 of Jason Stewart, he's running in second behind a guy who's taken 4 tires instead of 2. So I guess you can get away with only taking 2 tires in the long run, I'd assume. But, I mean, we're going to see what these guys do. We're not the drivers in this race, so we're going to see what they do.
Well, we've seen Jason Stewart play this strategy more than once this season here on 3 Wide TV in the Boswell Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series. He did it, I think, back near the very start of the season, back when we were at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and all of us up here in the booth were kind of scratching our heads, but Stewart did a fantastic job that night with that number 1 machine. Hollingsworth was definitely the fastest car at Charlotte, but he got pipped by the drivers taking 2 tires, and it's happened more than once this season where Hollingsworth has come down pit road, put 4 tires on, and ended up losing the race. But luckily here tonight he had a significant enough advantage in his key contenders like Tyler Seville, who actually has a little bit of left front damage on that number 11 machine. Not sure what that left front damage came from, but that might be affecting his pace. See if we can get a shot of that left front damage here as they work their way off into turn number 1. He's going to drop to the inside of Stewart, try and use those fresher tires to his advantage. A little bit of connection issues there, but he's going to make that pass stick coming out of turn number 2. Move Tyler Seville back up into the second spot. Now Larry Orn is going to try and battle for that position off of Jason Stewart. Good job here so far by Larry Orn. Gonna be interesting to see, like you said, Nicholas, how the 2-tire stop works out for Larry here tonight. But so far, so good. He's sticking with the cars in front of him. He's sticking with both Tyler Seville and Stephen Hollingsworth, your race leader. There's nothing separating the pace of those top 4 right now.
Yeah, and I mean, Larry Orn, both Larry Orn and Jason Stewart keeping a good pace with guys who took 4 tires, such as Tyler Seville and Stephen Hollingsworth. They're keeping the pace. I think it worked well for them, but we're gonna see how it goes within the remaining laps, as Larry Orn looking to make a move on the number 1 of Jason Stewart, gonna clear him by passing him on the inside. So that'll move Larry Orn up to 3rd as they cross the line.
I'm just reading the chat, and Oh man, the chat is interesting here tonight on 3YTV,
Oh, yeah.
that's for sure. Definitely enjoying you guys in the chat, giving us a little bit of a chuckle up here in the booth. But there is the 202 of Stephen Hollingsworth looking out back at the number 11 of Tyler Seville. Seville, last time by, Seville was one of your fastest cars out there. Mitch Brown in the 101 was the fastest car. Remember, he was the last driver to come down pit road, so no big surprise that Mitch Brown was the fastest car out there on the racetrack. He's 21 seconds, however, behind your race leaders. He also elected to only take 2 tires on his pit stop. Larry Orn, second fastest. Tyler Seville, third fastest. And now we'll see that kind of shuffle on through as these drivers cross the start-finish line and begin the new lap here just a little bit ago. Mitch Brown, Sam Maxwell, Larry Orn, Jason Stewart, and Tyler Seville, your top 5 fastest. You have to go all the way down to about the 8th fastest car to find Stephen Hollingsworth in the 202. This battle for the race lead is heating up here at Michigan with just 18 to go.
Oh, yeah, and I'd just like to point out that the number 12 of Steve Buhala has also, along with John A. Martin, not long ago, taken it to the garage, packing it up, and just going to go with his buddy John A. Martin, as they both take it to the garage, with Martin retiring from the session earlier on, but Buhala just doing it recently. So, but like you said, Peter, the top 4 really are having a great run, and mainly second, third, and fourth. They're gaining on the number 202 of Stephen Hollingsworth from what I'm seeing here. Yeah, they're gaining on him. So just coming to lap 60 out of 75, we're going to see if they have what it takes to get to him and then make a move.
Well, yeah, because the old adage is catching him is one thing, passing him is another. And we've seen Seville make that pass for the race lead. He did so right at the end of that first long green flag run that we had, which was really, really impressive. We hadn't seen anyone else lead up until that point, except for the 202 of Hollingsworth, your series points leader. But Seville slowly chipping away into that lead. Just does he have enough time to do so? My live timing and scoring says he does. In fact, my live timing and scoring says all of your top 4 cars will be together before the end of the race based on the pace that they're currently running, because Hollingsworth up at the front is running on average a 43.265. Seville on average about a 10th faster per lap, and that is about 1.5 seconds. It will be tight here, Nicholas, for Seville to close in, but maybe some of the draft, as soon as he starts to pick that up, maybe that will help close in. But these 1987 cars, they call these cars the Aero War cars for a reason. These cars are pretty darn slick. Yeah, they kind of look a little boxy, but this was just about that time when really they were trying to understand aerodynamics. Formula One at that point was really starting to hone in on aerodynamics, and NASCAR, of course, was picking that up and learning about making the car narrower. Of course, Bill Elliott was famous for actually getting his Ford Thunderbird narrowed to reduce the frontal area on that car to reduce the drag. It might have the same coefficient of drag, but if you're an aerodynamicist and you know, your drag is not only a function of your coefficient of drag, but it's a function of your frontal area. And so that's what Bill Elliott used to do, is just make his cars a little bit narrower, made them faster down the straightaways, and until NASCAR figured out what he was doing and they banned it. But these 1987 cars, they are pretty darn quick down a straightaway. So draft is not as big of a deal with these as it is kind of the more modern, bulky, boxy NASCARs, believe it or not. So got to be interesting to see how this all pans out here at the end, as the number 1 of Jason Stewart just kind of dropping down below the number 231 machine of Larry Orn. And folks, I do have a degree in aerospace engineering, so I do know a thing or two about coefficients of drag. So I'll tell you what, though, The number 11 machine of Tyler Seville trying to get a little bit of reduction in drag by using that draft. Once again, just a little bit faster. In fact, Seville, last time by, fastest car out there on the racetrack of 43.045 to Hollingsworth's 43.137. That's just under a tenth of a second per lap. It's going to be tight whether or not Seville can close in. They're closing, but can they do it fast enough, Nicholas?
Yeah, I think that they'll just get to Hollingsworth, and like you were saying, Peter, getting to them is one thing, but passing them, it's like tackling down a whole other animal. So, yeah, they're definitely catching them, and I'd just like to say that when you were rambling on about all the aerodynamics, I was confused. I was trying to comprehend what you were saying. I failed at that. And but hey, that was a good speech about aerodynamics, so that was interesting. So, anyways, back to the race. Sam Maxwell now taking it to the garage. He is also retired from the session, and it looks like Larry Orn almost looked like he was trying to make a move on the number 11 of Tyler Seville, but they're definitely catching the number 202 of Stephen Hollingsworth. We're going to see what they can do here, as we just got into lap 66 out of 75. I'm thinking that they're going to at least get to them here at the end, or get to him at the end.
Last time by, Larry Orn, fastest car out there on the racetrack. Interestingly enough, folks, Stephen Hollingsworth in the 202 has actually picked up his pace just a little bit. Last time by, he ran a 43.022. It's been quite a long time since I last saw Hollingsworth run a 43 flat. So he knows that these cars behind him are catching. Perhaps he's just been kind of saving his stuff, managing that gap. Now he's at that point where we're under 10 laps to go that he can start to pick it up just a little bit to try and keep Tyler Seville back there. This time by, however, the 202, 43.090. Tyler Seville, a 42.930. Ooh. So about a tenth and a half that lap. If Seville can keep that up here over the final 9 laps or so, he would definitely catch Hollingsworth. But that gap is going to have to come down here. He's going to have to continue to take those chunks out if he wants any chance of catching him. But like I said, Nicholas, catching him is one thing, passing him is another.
Yeah, and that's what I've been thinking about this whole time. Like you said, catching is one thing, passing is another. And what I'm saying is, I believe Tyler Seville gets into the turn, drives the turns 1 and 2, and kind of gains on Hollingsworth in the middle of 1 and 2, and that's where he's getting him. And as we're coming up on, as we're just in 68 and a half laps completed, yeah, I think he's going to catch up to him, but we're going to see about the whole passing deal.
And keep an eye on that 231 machine of Larry Orn, because he's not backing down. If Larry Orn can get side by side with the number 11 machine, it's all but over, folks, because that would allow the 202 to just scoot away just a little bit. And here comes Larry Orn poking his nose to the inside. Ooh. Just as I say that.
Yeah.
He's going to slot back in behind the number 11, at least for now. But Orn thought that he had an opportunity. Here he goes down the backstretch. Remember, he has slightly fresher right side tires on the 231 than the 11. And he's going to try again here going off into turn number 3. He's got a nose there. The 11 slides up just a little bit. Orn trying to roll the center of the corner. He's going to take that spot there, Nicholas.
Yeah, that was a great move there. And Larry Orn, I was watching, he was thinking about it for a couple of laps there. Finally got around the number 11 of Tyler Seville. And as you mentioned, Larry Orn has just a little bit more of fresher tires, but a little bit goes a long way when it comes to how fresh your tires are, I suppose. Now we're going to be looking at how close Larry Orn can get to catching the number 202 of Stephen Hollingsworth. Last lap, Stephen Hollingsworth ran a 42.99, and Larry Orn ran a 42.92. And here we go again, side by side, the number 11 of Tyler Seville and the number 231 of Larry Orn. And we're going to go 3 wide here on 3 Wide TV. There you have it, with the number 1 of Jason Stewart now. 3 wide with Tyler Seville backing out just a little bit there. Didn't want to be involved with that, I'm sure. And now the number 1 and the number 231 are battling it out here.
And you know who loves to see this? Stephen Hollingsworth.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
just pulling away from these 3 as they battle it all out here for the second position. That's really where the race is. It's going to be 4 laps to go this time by. And what about Jason Stewart? Got the win at Darlington a couple weeks ago. He's going to get himself up into second position. What a fantastic run here tonight by Jason Stewart. Didn't have a great first half of the event, but he's really made up for that here in the second half. And here comes Larry Orn. He's going to draft under that number 1 machine going off into turn number 1. It's not done yet, folks. Tyler Seville going to now size up these 2 in front of him. Hollingsworth still pulling away.
Yeah, and I'm just remembering that these 2 who are battling side by side, Larry Orn and Jason Stewart, these guys only took 2 tires on the pit stop, while behind them is the number 11 of Tyler Seville, who took 4 tires. So it looks like that the 2 tire strategy worked out well for Orn and Stewart, as they are holding a second and third place coming on to lap 73. And like you're saying, who's really loving to see this is the number 202, your leader, Stephen Hollingsworth, who just keeps pulling away more and more as these guys back here battle it out, Peter.
3 more laps to go. And folks, can I have a 3 in the chat for Dale here tonight? Just 3 more to go tonight. He's not racing. Hollingsworth trying to become only the second driver to become a repeat winner this year in this series. He's 2 laps away from doing so. The number 1 machine, Jason Stewart, solidly in second. That battle for second has calmed down just a little bit. But last time by, Jason Stewart ate a huge chunk out of the lead. I think it's going to be a little bit too little too late. Stewart, last time by, 3.5 tenths of a second faster than Hollingsworth. The speed being shown right now by Jason Stewart, perhaps he learned all that speed when he was drifting through turn number 3 and 4 there in qualifying. But slow car might be in the wall. Contact with the outside wall of Stewart. And Stewart's now spinning around, and caution flag, is it going to be in the air? No caution here at Michigan. We stay green flag because the white flag is already in the air. Slow car got in the way, and it all went wrong for the number 1 machine. We were singing his praises, and just like that, it's all gone. Much like that race we had on Tuesday night. Late race drama. Corey Silva's going to get up into the 4th position. Stewart's going to drop well back. But meanwhile, turn number 3 and 4, the 202 of Hollingsworth, he's going to see clean track, no cars in front of him. He's going to see the checkered flag. Hollingsworth going to go to victory lane here at Michigan. Orn going to take second. Seville in third. 4th position, Corey Silva, Mitch Brown in 5th. Looks like Lee Staples going to finish 6th. And Jason Stewart from 2nd to 7th. Here in a lap. And Nicholas, that is absolute heartbreak for the 1 machine.
Wow, yeah, and you know what? Who would have had heartbreak if they had not gotten the white flag right before that happened? That would have been interesting for Hollingsworth because he was leading. I'm sure he was hoping that he got the white flag before they were thinking about throwing a caution, the iRacing service. So that was a great race, though, and a great finish. It was that slow car up there, I believe, that Jason Stewart was trying to avoid. I saw it a little bit before it was going to happen. I was like, is he going to be able to avoid him? And he tried on the outside, but unfortunately was not enough, as we see the number 202, your winner, Stephen Hollingsworth, doing some burnouts, celebratory donuts.
So, we're going to have to go back and get a replay of this, folks, because I figured out what happened. It's going to be an interesting one when we go back and watch this replay. But as that 202 machine celebrates here on the front stretch, let's see if we can go back and get that replay now. We will definitely have interviews. A lot of you folks in the chat, you're wanting Larry. Don't worry, folks. Larry is coming. So watch as the number 1 machine comes up on the back of the 66 machine. There's nowhere to go but the 66. The answer is on board with the 66 machine. Let's see if we can possibly look out the back of the number 66 machine, go to the gearbox camp, or go on board with him here. Listen to this sound, folks. That is the sound of a flat tire. We saw it at Bristol Motor Speedway. There's nothing the 66 could do. He stays out of the way of the leaders. He goes up there near the wall. The 1 machine's thinking, oh, I'm just going to go up here high. But the 66 has a flat tire. He just doesn't have the maneuverability, and he might have 2 flat tires. But unfortunately, the 1 machine kind of chose the wrong line there. You don't want to go high on a car that has a flat tire because it won't turn. And unfortunately, just chose a little bit too little too late there. And Nicholas, this is the result.
Yeah, that... wow, that was interesting. I was wondering if the number 1 of Jason Stewart would be able to get around the 66, of Edward Bray, who possibly had multiple flat tires there, definitely, maybe more than 1, and I was wondering if he'd get around him, but unfortunately couldn't get, he almost did, but he got into the outside wall while trying to get around him. So yeah, what an absolute heartbreak for the number 1 of Jason Stewart, but a great finish overall, Peter.
Yeah, and one of those things is it's a racing deal. When you have that happen, it just, there's not much you can do when a car's got a flat tire. That's something that happens in racing and it happens in real life. And unfortunately, it was a little bit of a gamble there for the number 1 machine of whether to go high or whether to go low. And fortunately, it didn't pay off there at the end. But let's see if we can dial up some of these drivers here for this post-race interview. Let's see if we can get Tyler Seville up here. Hey, Tyler Seville, Peter Short up here in the 3-Wide TV booth. You needed a good night here tonight after that abysmal finish at Bristol 1 week ago. You led a couple of laps. You looked really, really strong there, taking the lead before the green flag pit stops. But unfortunately, coming home in the 3rd position for you here tonight. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I felt like me and Hollingsworth were pretty even. If we were nose to tail, it was just going to be whoever was in front, and he was able to get to pit road before me tonight, and I feel like that was the difference.
Yeah, definitely that 202 machine was very, very quick, but you definitely showed that strong pace right there at the end of that long green flag run that we had before the pit stop. Tell us a little bit about managing your tires and how much that was in the back of your mind here tonight.
Yeah, so as typical with these, you can burn up the right front really quickly, which is what happened after the pit stop as I was trying to run him down. But it's just pacing yourself, making sure you don't overdrive the corner, and then just making sure you don't get too tight coming up off the corner. Tires is the name of the game with these 87 cars.
Yeah, absolutely. And here again tonight, we saw a couple of drivers like the 231 of Larry Orn and the number 1 of Jason Stewart use a 2-tire strategy, and it worked out for them again here tonight. I know a lot of people thought that maybe the 2-tire strategy was out of the window after the most recent iRacing update a couple weeks ago. But here again, showing strong. Are you a bit surprised by that?
A little bit, but Jason is one of the best people when he takes 2 tires and just saving tires in general. So I was a little surprised, but when I looked at who did it, I was not surprised at all.
And definitely a tough break for that number 1 machine there. And I know, Tyler, you've been on the, some of those late race accidents here recently here on 3-Wide TV. As a race car driver, how do you reset after something like that?
This was a good pick me up from Tuesday. I was pretty dejected over letting myself mess up like that coming to the checkered flag. So I'll take a good 3rd place, and we'll get ready for Adega next week.
Yeah, definitely going to be a fun one here on Tuesday night on 3-Wide TV, Tyler. Good luck in that one. And I'll tell you what, good luck here in the remainder of the 2020 Boswell Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series. because we still have a couple of races left to go in this series. The next one is going to be, well, personally, it's one of my favorites. We're going to Rockingham, the Rock 100. What are your thoughts about going to the Rock?
I feel like it'll be even more of what today was with tires, because the Rock is known to eat up tires. I can't wait to get some practice laps in there.
Yeah, absolutely one of my favoritist racetracks. Yes, I said favoritist, folks, here in iRacing, Rockingham Speedway. But Tyler, I know you got some shout-outs for us, so let's hear them.
Yeah, thanks to Slice Pizza Bar for sponsoring this year. Shout out to Will for racing with me tonight. Doug missed the race tonight, but I'm pretty sure he was probably lighting up the chat there, so shout out to him and the rest of my Will Warsaw teammates.
Absolutely. Well, I'll let you go, Tyler. Congratulations on a third-place finish here tonight. We'll see you at the Rock 2 weeks, and of course, we'll see you Tuesday night here on 3Y TV for the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Good luck at Dega next week.
All right, thank you.
All right, folks, that was your third-place finisher, the number 11 machine of Tyler Seville. And I do believe that Nicholas Rees has caught up with the fan favorite here in the chat, Larry Orn there, Nicholas.
Yep, Larry Orn, you got a copy here in the 3Y TV booth?
I sure do.
All right, sounds good. Now, throughout the race, we were wondering what people would do for different tire strategies, and it looked like you and the number 1 of Jason Stewart decided to take 2 tires instead of 4. What was going through your mind when you were deciding to do that?
Yeah, I noticed that with these cars, and I think Hollingsworth and a few others have talked about it, that sometimes 2 tires is just as fast, if not faster, than 4 tires. And I did a big 87s race at Auto Club a couple weeks ago, and in these cars, and I noticed that I was actually faster on 2 new right side tires and 2 old tires than I was on 4 fresh. So I thought, track position would be key. I wanted to make sure I was able to draft with somebody, and I thought that the time saved taking 2 tires would be better off for me.
Yeah, so did you expect it to work out so well that you actually would be able to get a second place podium finish?
Well, I was really conservative the first run. I was really trying to, save my tires, and after last week when I blew my damn tire running first or second, whatever it was, I was a little paranoid. So I didn't push it too hard, but I thought that if everything would shuffle out just right, I'd be there in contention at the end.
All right, sounds good. And I just want to point out, you have had a lot of support in the chat box on this live stream. You had a lot of fans cheering you on, and I'm sure they're very happy to see you in second. But going on to in a couple weeks here for the next race in this series, The Rock. How are you feeling about that?
Well, I'm not 100% sure if I can actually make The Rock. I hope I can. I might have something else going on, but if I do, I keep talking about tires, but that's a track that just eats up tires. And it's a fun, historic track, but you really got to be conservative. I think we'll probably have a few more cautions than we didn't even have a caution for this race. So if I can make it to Rockingham, really looking forward to it. I think it's a good track for me, and I think it'll be a blast for everybody.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because the guy who finished right behind you, Tyler Seville, said the exact same thing, that track just eats up your tires, so that'll be something to look forward to on 3Y TV. But lastly, before I let you go, do you have any shout-outs?
Yeah, I just want to give a shout-out to all my friends and family and my girlfriend and everybody watching. They always come out and support me every Thursday in this league, and it just means a lot, and I'm sure they've had a few adult beverages at this point. I'll probably have one myself, and I wanted to bring home the win for you guys, but, silver ain't too bad, so we'll get the gold next time.
All right, well, congratulations on the silver.
All right, thanks.
All right, now I believe that Peter Short has caught up with the number 202 of Stephen Hollingsworth in Victory Lane. I'm going to give that over to you, Peter.
Yep, I am right here on the front stretch, Gatorade Victory Lane here tonight for the Thursday night Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Throwback Cup Series. And Stephen Hollingsworth, for only the second time this season, we have a repeat winner in Victory Lane. Boy, oh boy, it seems like you've been fast every single week. You've been knocking on the door of getting back to Victory Lane, and you've finally done so here tonight at Michigan. looked really good for you there in the first half of the race. Of course, you just lost out the lead to the 11 machine in Seville right before the pit stops, but then you were able to assert the lead back, and you really didn't look back, but you did have some fast-charging race cars behind you there in the final 15 to 20 laps. What was going through your mind?
Hit your marks. They had me sweating, man. I don't know what happened to them there, like 2 to go, but they were coming, especially with under 5 laps to go. I was really worried that it wasn't going to happen, that they were just going to blow right by me.
Well, the good news for you is they got pretty racy there with about 5 laps to go, and really thwarted their attempt to try and catch you, and you were able to kind of hold on to that lead. And yeah, there was a little bit of contact there with coming to the white, but all in all, fantastic job for you here tonight. You led 60 of the 75 laps, and most of those laps that you didn't lead were due to the pit cycle. So definitely, was this one racetrack that you were expecting to be fast, or is Michigan not one of your favorite racetracks?
I love Michigan. I just love these cars, man. That just seems to fit my driving style. I love wheeling I don't know, the way they enter the corner and the way they exit, they're kind of a little loosey. And the Gen 6 cars, man, they're so tight. Of course, I ain't drove them in forever, but they just seem to fit. And I needed a win this late in the season, so it feels good to get a win. My adrenaline's pumping. I can hardly talk, and I'm sweating pretty bad. I thought I was going to lose it right there with under 5 to go, but it seemed to work out, so that's pretty good.
Well, of course, you came into tonight as the points leader. Will Worcer not having a good night in the number 29. Jason Stewart, he was 29 markers coming into tonight. It all unraveled for him there coming to the white flag. You're going to head into the next round at Rockingham Speedway with a huge points lead. But the Rockingham is one of those racetracks that, it's kind of like Dover or Darlington. Sometimes the Rock likes you, sometimes it hates you. It's kind of got a mind of its own. What's your thoughts on going to the Rock?
Good question. I haven't been at Rockingham with this car yet, so hopefully I get some good track time before the race. And if it runs anything like the trucks, you're probably gonna end up having a dime in the corner. But I mean, that's from what I know right now. That's about all the knowledge I have on what to do at Rockingham. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be a fun race. Tire management going to be oh so important. I'm not 100% sure we'll see 2 tire pit stops at the Rock like we saw here tonight. But Stephen, fantastic job here tonight. Congratulations on getting to victory lane for only the 2nd time this season, and perhaps you can round out the season with a couple of more wins. We'll have to find out here on 3Y TV as the season goes on. But Stephen, you got any shout outs for us?
Yeah. Everybody in the booth, y'all do a good job, man. I like going back and watching these races and see what everybody's strategy was. And you just said somebody took 2 tires. I didn't realize that happened tonight. So that'd be cool to watch. And the league admins, Jim Fu, Sam, and anybody else that's involved with that, they seem to be they seem to put on a pretty good show. So congratulations. Not to see my adrenaline's pumping. Y'all have a good night.
Well, I'll tell you what, Stephen. Congratulations. Go celebrate in Victory Lane. We'll see you 2 weeks' time here on 3Y TV for more Thursday night Boswell Country Roads Harley Davidson Cup Series action. But until then, best of luck.
All right, Ed. And everybody in chat, y'all have a good night too. Go Larry Horn.
All right, well, that is the 202 of Stephen Hollingsworth. Great run for him here tonight around this racetrack. But Nicholas, I think we have just one more job left to do, and that is to go through tonight's finishing order there, Nicholas.
Alrighty, sounds good. Of course, your winner, the number 202 of Stephen Hollingsworth, just got done interviewing him. And finishing second, the number 231 of Larry Orn, who also had a great finish and, of course, was running the 2-tire strategy. So we heard from him how he felt about that, and pretty good. In third, the number 11 of Tyler Seville, And in 4th, Corey Silva. 5th, Mitch Brown. 6th, Lee Staples. 7, Jason Stewart. Now, he was also running the two-tire strategy, as we know. And, of course, had that late race heartbreak, trying to get around the number 66 of Edward Bray, who had a flat tire, if not 2, and unfortunately got into the outside wall, and all of that happened from there on. Finishing in 8th is the number 44 of Michael Whiting, and in 9th, the number 41 of Tim Knott. In 10th, rounding out the top 10, is the number 66 of Edward Bray. I'll take the last 5 yet again. The number 98 of Sam Maxwell, finishing in 11th, 12 laps down, and finishing in 12th, number 13 of James Matherly. Finishing in 13th, the number 12 of Steve Buhala, who retired from the race not too early, but somewhat early, along with Martin and Worsler, finishing 14th and 15th.
Absolutely, and like you said, down there at the bottom, Stephen Hollingsworth leading 60 laps here tonight. Definitely that 202 machine was on a bit of a rail here tonight, but the Rockingham Speedway looms 2 weeks from now here on 3 Wide TV should be a good one, so make sure you tune in for that one. Now, folks, we do want to give a special mention to our friend Greg Rentz. Unfortunately, Greg could not be with us here tonight, and all of our thoughts of the 3 Wide TV team are with you here, Greg, and we hope to see you back in the booth here Tuesday night for more American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series action. I'm sure you will be. Should be a good one. So make sure you tune in for that one, folks. I mean, here we got this Thursday night Throwback Cup Series event on Thursday nights, but then Tuesday night's a big one for the American Sim Racing Series, the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series playoff cutoff race at Talladega. And if the race we saw this past Tuesday night at Las Vegas is any indication of what we're going to see at Talladega, it's going to be nuts. No one's locked in to the final round. 8 drivers are contending for 4 spots. And if you didn't see that finish at Las Vegas this past week, make sure you go back here on 3 Wide TV and check it out, because we were talking about it. 8 playoff drivers with 5 laps to go. The top 4 playoff drivers ended up the bottom 4 playoff drivers, and the bottom 4, well, obviously they ended up as the top 4. It all happened in the last 5 laps. It all happened in the final 2 laps. It was nuts. It was crazy. Make sure you go check that one out. Make sure you tune in Tuesday right here on 3 Wide TV for more American Sim Racing Series action. I also want to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Sim TV for the camera angles that we bring you each and every week. Great group of people. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel as well. And make sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel so you can help out the American Sim Racing Series and help out get more likes here on this channel. But for myself, Peter Short, Mr. Carlos Acosta, and Nicholas Rees, we'll see you guys 2 weeks' time for more Thursday night Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Cup Series action. See ya!